See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, when you obey the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other mighty ones which you have not known. And it shall be, when Yahuwah your Elohim has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessings on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, toward the setting sun, in the land of Canaanites who dwell in the desert plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Moreh? For you are passing over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you, and you shall possess it and dwell in it, and shall guard to do all the laws and right rulings which I am setting before you today.
Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 12. These are the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land which Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers is giving you to possess, all the days that you live on the soil. Completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are dispossessing serve their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall break down their altars and smash their pillars and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images of their mighty ones and shall destroy their name out of that place. Do not do so to Yahuwah your Elohim, but seek the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses out of all your tribes, to put his name there for his dwelling place, and there you shall enter. And there you shall take your burnt offerings and your tithes and the contributions of your hand, and your vowed offerings and your voluntary offerings, and the firstlings of your herd and of your flock. And there you shall eat before Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households in which Yahuwah your Elohim has blessed you. Do not do as we are doing here today, each one doing whatever is right in his own eyes, because you have not yet entered the rest and the inheritance which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. But you shall pass over the Jordan, and shall dwell in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you to inherit. And he shall give you rest from all your enemies round about, and you shall dwell in safety. And it shall be that unto the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell there, there you are to bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your tithes and the contributions of your hand, and all your choice offerings which you vow to Yahuwah. And you shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters and your male servants and your female servants, and the Levite who is within your gates, since he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Guard yourself that you do not offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see, except in the place which Yahuwah chooses. In one of your tribes, there you are to offer your burnt offerings, and there you are to do all that I command you. Only whatever your being desires you shall slaughter and eat, according to the blessing of Yahuwah your Elohim, which he has given you within all your gates. The unclean and the clean do eat of it, of all of the gazelle and the deer alike. Only the blood you do not eat. Pour it on the earth like water. You are not allowed to eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or of your oil, or of the firstlings of your herd, or your flock, or of any of your offerings which you vow, or of your voluntary offerings, or of the contribution of your hand. But eat them before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses, you and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and the Levite who is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim in all that you put your hands to. Guard yourself that you do not forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. When Yahuwah your Elohim enlarges your border, as he has promised you, and you say, let me eat meat, because you long to eat meat, you eat as much meat as your being desires. When the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, then you shall slaughter from your herd and from your flock which Yahuwah has given you, as I have commanded you, and you shall eat within your gates as much as your being desires. Only as the gazelle and the deer are eaten, so you are to eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Only be firm not to eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Do not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it. You pour it on the earth like water. Do not eat it, that it might be well with you and your children after you, when you do what is right in the eyes of Yahuwah. Only the set-apart gifts which you have and your vowed orphans you are to take up and go to the place which Yahuwah chooses. And you shall make your burnt offerings, the meat and the blood, on the altar of Yahuwah your Elohim. And the blood of your offerings is poured out on the altar of Yahuwah your Elohim, and you eat the meat. Guard and obey all these words which I command you, that it might be well with you and your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yahuwah your Elohim. When Yahuwah your Elohim does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their mighty ones, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones? And let me do so too. Do not do so to Yahuwah your Elohim. For every abomination which Yahuwah hates, they have done to their mighty ones. For they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their mighty ones. All the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Deuteronomy chapter 13. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign of the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For Yahuwah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. Walk after Yahuwah your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams is put to death, because he has spoken apostasy against Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, to make you straight from the way in which Yahuwah your Elohim commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend, who is as your own being, entices you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other mighty ones, which you have not known, neither you nor your fathers, of the mighty ones of the people which are all around you, near to you, or far off from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Do not agree with him or listen to him, nor shall your eye pardon him, nor spare him, or conceal him, but you shall certainly kill him. Your hand is first against him to put him to death, and after with the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones until he dies, because he sought to entice you away from Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim from the house of bondage. And let all Israel hear and fear, and not again do any such evil matter as this in your midst. When you hear someone in one of your cities, which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you to dwell in, saying, some men, sons of Belial, have gone out of you midst and led the inhabitants of their city astray, saying, let us go and serve their mighty ones whom you have not known, then you shall inquire, search out, and ask diligently, and see if the matter is true, and establish that the abomination was done in your midst. And you shall certainly smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, putting it under the ban, and all that is in it, and its livestock with the edge of the sword, and gather all its plunder into the middle of the street, and completely burn with fire the city and all its plunder before Yahuwah your Elohim. And it shall be a heap forever. never to be built again. And none of that which is put under the ban is to cling to your hand, so that Yahuwah turns from the fierceness of his displeasure, and shall show you compassion, love you, and increase you, as he swore to your fathers, when you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard all his commands, which I command you today, to do what is right in the eyes of Yahuwah your Elohim. Deuteronomy chapter 14. You are the children of Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not cut yourselves, nor shave the front of your head for the dead, for you are a set-apart people to Yahuwah your Elohim, and Yahuwah has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Do not eat whatever is abominable. These are the living creatures which you do eat: ox, sheep, and goat, deer, and gazelle, and roebuck, and wild goat, and mountain goat, and antelope, and mountain sheep, and every beast that has a split hoof divided in two, chewing the cud among the beasts you do eat. But of those chewing the cud, or those having a split hoof completely divided, you do not eat, such as these: the camel, and the hare, and the rabbit, for they chew the cud, but do not have a split hoof. They are unclean for you. And the pig is unclean for you, because it has a split hoof, but does not chew the cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. These you do eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales you do eat. And whatever does not have fins and scales you do not eat. It is unclean for you. Any clean bird you do eat. But these you do not eat: the eagle, and the vulture, and the black vulture, and the red kite, and the falcon, and the buzzard after their kinds, and every raven after its kind, and the ostrich, and the night hawk, and the seagull, and the hawk after their kinds, the little owl, and the great owl, and the white owl, and the pelican, and the carrion vulture, and the fisher owl, and the stork, and the heron after its kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat, and every creeping insect that flies is unclean for you. They are not eaten. Any clean bird you do eat. Do not eat whatever dies of itself. Give it to the stranger who is within your gates to eat it, or sell it to a foreigner, for you are a set-apart people to Yahuwah your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain that the field brings forth year by year. And you shall eat before Yahuwah your Elohim, in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell, the tithe of your grain, and your new wine, and your oil, and of the firstlings of your herds and your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yahuwah your Elohim always. But when the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to bring the tithe, or when the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, when Yahuwah your Elohim is blessing you, then you shall give it in silver, and shall take the silver in your hand, and go to the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses. And you shall use the silver for whatever your being desires, for cattle or sheep, for wine or strong drink, for whatever your being desires, and you shall eat there before Yahuwah your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. And do not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. At the end of every third year you bring out all the tithe of your increase of that year, and store it up within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow who are within your gates, shall come and eat and be satisfied, so that Yahuwah your Elohim does bless you in all the work of your hands which you do. Deuteronomy chapter 15. At the end of every 7 years, you make a release of debts. And this is the word of the release. Every creditor is to release what he has loaned to his neighbor. He does not require it of his neighbor or his brother, because it is called the release of Yahuwah. Of a foreigner you could require it, but your hand is to release whatever is owed by your brother. Only there should be no poor among you, for Yahuwah does greatly bless you in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance. only if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard to do all these commands which I am commanding you today. For Yahuwah your Elohim shall bless you as he promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow, and you shall rule over many nations, but they do not rule over you. When there is a poor man with you, one of your brothers within any of the gates in your land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you, do not harden your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother. For you shall certainly open your hand to him, and certainly lend him enough for his need, whatever he needs. Be on guard, lest there be a thought of Belial in your heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is near, and your eye is evil against your poor brother. And you give him naught, and he shall cry out to Yahuwah against you, and it shall be a sin in you. You shall certainly give to him, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him, because for this reason Yahuwah your Elohim does bless you in all your works and in all to which you put your hand, because the poor one does not cease from the land. Therefore I am commanding you, saying, you shall certainly open your hand to your brother, to your poor and to your needy one in your land. When your brother is sold to you, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, and shall serve you 6 years, then let him go free from you in the 7th year. And when you send him away free from you, let him not go away empty-handed. You shall richly supply him from your flock, and from your threshing floor, and from your winepress. With that which Yahuwah has blessed you with, give to him. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mizraim, and Yahuwah your Elohim redeemed you. Therefore I am commanding you this word today. And it shall be when he says to you, I do not go away from you, because he loves you, and your house, because it is good for him with you, then you shall take an awl and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be your servant forever. Do the same to your female servant. Let it not be hard in your eyes when you send him away free from you, for he has been worth a double hired servant in serving you 6 years. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall bless you in all that you do. Set apart to Yahuwah your Elohim all the firstborn males that come from your herd and your flock. Do no work with the firstborn of your herd, nor share the firstborn of your flock. You and your household ought to eat it before Yahuwah your Elohim, year by year in the place which Yahuwah chooses. But when there is any defect in it, lame or blind, or has any evil defect, do not slaughter it to Yahuwah your Elohim. Eat it within your gates, the unclean and the clean alike, as the gazelle and as the deer. Only do not eat its blood. Pour it on the ground like water.
Guard the month of Abib, and perform the Passover to Yahuwah your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yahuwah your Elohim brought you out of Mizraim by night, and you shall slaughter the Passover to Yahuwah your Elohim from the flock and the herb, in the place where Yahuwah chooses to put his name. Eat no leavened bread with it. For 7 days you eat unleavened bread with it, bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mizraim in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mizraim, all the days of your life. And no leaven should be seen with you in all your border for 7 days. Neither should any of the meat which you slaughter in the evening on the first day stay all night until morning. You are not allowed to slaughter the Passover within any of your gates which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, but at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. There you slaughter the Passover in the evening, at the going down of the sun, at the appointed time you came out of Mizraim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses. And in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yahuwah your Elohim. You do no work. count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain, and you shall perform the festival of weeks to Yahuwah, your Elohim, according to the voluntary offering from your hand which you give, as Yahuwah, your Elohim, blesses you. And you shall rejoice before Yahuwah, your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant and the Levite who is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are in your midst, at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Mizraim, and you shall guard and do these laws. Perform the festival of booths for 7 days after the ingathering from your threshing floor and from your winepress, and you shall rejoice in your festival, you and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates. For 7 days you shall observe a festival to Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which Yahuwah chooses, because Yahuwah your Elohim does bless you in all your increase and in all the work of your hands, and you shall be only rejoicing. 3 times a year all your males appear before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread, and at the festival of weeks, and at the festival of booths, and none should appear before Yahuwah empty-handed, but each one with the gift of his hand, according to the blessing of Yahuwah your Elohim, which he has given you. Sing, O barren one, you who did not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor. For the children of the deserted one are more than the children of the married woman, said Yahuwah. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Spare not. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes, for you shall break forth to the right and to the left, and your seed inherit the nations, and make the deserted cities inhabited. Do not fear, for you shall not be put to shame, nor hurt. You shall not be humiliated. For the shame of your youth you shall forget and not remember the reproach of your widowhood any more. For your Maker is your husband, Yahuwah of hosts is his name, and the set-apart one of Israel is your Redeemer. He is called the Elohim of the earth. For Yahuwah has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, like a wife of youth when you were refused, declares your Elohim. For a little while I have forsaken you, but with great compassion I shall gather you. In an overflow of wrath I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting kindness I shall have compassion on you, and Yahuwah, said Yahuwah, your Redeemer. For this is the waters of Noah to me, and that I have sworn that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So have I sworn not to be wroth with you, nor to rebuke you. For though the mountains be removed and the hills be shaken, my kindness is not removed from you, nor is my covenant of peace shaken, said Yahuwah, who has compassion on you. O you afflicted one, tossed with storm, and not comforted. See, I am setting your stones in antimony, and shall lay your foundations with sapphires, and shall make your battlements of rubies, your gates of crystal, and all your walls of precious stones, and all your children taught by Yahuwah, and the peace of your children great. In righteousness you shall be established. far from oppression. For you shall not fear, and far from ruin, for it does not come near you. See, they shall indeed assemble, but not because of me. Whoever shall assemble against you falls for your sake. See, I myself have created the blacksmith, who blows the coals in the fire, who brings forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall prove wrong. This is the inheritance of the servants of Yahuwah, and their righteousness from me, declares Yahuwah. Isaiah 55, 1-5. O everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no silver, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, and your labor for what does not satisfy? Listen to me, and eat what is good, and let your being delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear, so that your being lives, and let me make an everlasting covenant with you. The trustworthy kindness of David. See, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and a commander for the people. See, a nation you do not know you shall call, and a nation who does not know you run to you, because of Yahuwah your Elohim, and the set apart one of Israel, for he has adorned you. John chapter 7, starting at verse 37 through 52. And on the last day, the great day of the festival, Yahushua stood and cried out, saying, If anyone thirsts, let him come to me, and let him who believes in me drink. As the scripture said, out of his innermost shall flow rivers of living water. And this he said concerning the Spirit, which those believing in him were about to receive. For the set-apart Spirit was not yet given, because Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Many from the crowd, when they heard the word, then said, This truly is the prophet. Others said, This is the Messiah. But others said, Does the Messiah then come out of Galilee? Did not the scriptures say that the Messiah comes from the seed of David, and from the village of Bethlehem, where David was, David? So a division came about among the people because of him, and some of them wished to take him, but no one laid hands on him. The officers therefore came to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said to them, Why did you not bring him? The officers answered, Never has any man spoken like this man. The Pharisees therefore answered them, Have you also been led astray? Has any one of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd that does not know the Torah is accursed. Nicodemus, he who came to Yahushua by night, being one of them, said to them, Does your Torah judge the man unless it hears first from him and knows what he is doing? They answered and said to him, Are you also from Galilee? Search and see that no prophet has arisen out of Galilee.